Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this masterclass on guidance. My name is Nicholas Armitt, and I'm one of the trainers here at the NBS. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. The webinar will be 25 minutes, and all your microphones are muted. If you do have any questions, then please raise them in the question box, and we will follow those up after the webinar with you. I'm joined this morning by Bill Clark, one of our technical authors here at the NBS. Bill began his career working in construction industry as an indentured apprentice electrician with a regional electricity company. Once he completed his apprenticeship, he took up employment as an engineer with the NHS, working across all major hospitals in Newcastle. Following promotion to senior electrical engineer with a local authority, he became responsible for managing a team maintaining existing electrical installations across 600 plus property portfolio. Subsequent promoted to principal electrical engineer, then to principal building services engineer, and he gained responsibility for design of mechanical and electrical services in addition to their maintenance. Bill has been with the NBS since 2005, and his role as technical author has had him responsible for maintaining existing technical content based around electrical services. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Nick. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you.
First of all, could you tell us what the role of a technical author entails at the NBS?
Certainly. We have around about 20 authors in our team currently. Each author has an area of expertise. We have authors who look after architectural systems, engineering systems, including building services, and we have a landscape architect. My role is one of two electrical engineers, and I specialize in things such as general lighting systems, power systems, fire alarms, lifts, and all of the products that, when assembled, support the performance of those types of systems.
Before we actually start talking about the guidance, let's open up a specification that we've already created within Chorus to use an example for Bill to talk around. I've got a guidance masterclass project here, and within here I've got a guidance example specification. Now today we're basing this around Uniclass 2015. The principles are similar for common arrangements of work sections. And let's go and add content. So this brings you through to your edit window. There are a couple of ways that you can see the guidance within NBS Chorus. One of them we can do by searching. So if I search for a door in the search panel in the center, I can then click on the text of any of the results and it will bring the guidance up for that item. And the other way is if we open one of the systems, activities, or product clauses within the content that we might have already added, that will then bring up the guidance for you automatically. Now, the guidance is an important part of NBS Chorus. What's the purpose of it, Bill?
Well, the purpose of the guidance is to help the specifier in making decisions that affect the performance of a system or the properties of a product.
So, is it there to tell specifiers what to put into their specification?
No, the guidance there is to act as an aide-memoire for the specifiers to consider particular properties of a product that may impact the performance of the system, or to guide them as to where to look for further information. So the guidance might link to a British standard, or it might link to another reference document, from which point the specifier can then get the information that will help them complete the inserts within the clause.
So, Bill, is there one or multiple types of guidance in the platform?
Yes, there are basically three types of guidance. The first one is what we would term general guidance. The second one is clause heading guidance. And the third is clause item guidance.
So where can we find those different types of guidance and what do they cover?
Well, if you can open up the hardwired general lighting system clause and then click on the heading title, you'll see there that the guidance on the right-hand side is interactive with the guidance in the editor. And then on the second paragraph, we link to General Guidance 1.1. So the guidance at that point, we hope, will be read before anybody attempts to start to complete the content of the clause. This is a general overview about what's in the whole section.
What about clause heading guidance, Bill?
So clause heading guidance can be accessed by clicking on the clause title. And the guidance at that point is to do with the entire content of that clause.
So, finally, we've got clause items guidance. Where's that found and what does that cover?
Okay, so clause item guidance, if you click onto the third row where we've got final circuit cabling, the guidance that will appear there is specifically about final circuit cabling. So in this particular example, I explain a little bit about where cabling is used, what the implications is of using cabling on an emergency lighting system. I make reference to BS 5266 Part 1, which is the code of practice for emergency lighting. And then the suggested values that we can see listed are those that I would think as an electrical engineer are the most commonly required cables to serve a hardwired general lighting system. Now, it's important to note at this point that they are only suggested values. The cable section contains many other cable types for which a specifier may decide to use in lieu of one of the suggested values offered by an NBS author. We never dictate which values are appropriate. We give options, and the specifier must make that choice.
When we look at clauses, we can see that there are generic and proprietary clauses. What's the difference between these and what are they?
Okay, if you could open up the standard socket outlet clause. So this is authored by the NBS authoring team, this one by me personally, and this is what we call the generic content. So here we have a reference to a standard, which is BS 1363 Part 2, and the properties that are below that generally reflect the requirements of that standard. So this is the sort of thing that would be used if you didn't want to specify a particular manufacturer of a standard socket outlet. If you then click on products in guidance, Nick, please. Thank you. Here we see that there is a particular manufacturer who subscribes to NBS Source, and they offer a range of 11 different socket outlets. And the intention would be here that if you wanted to specify that particular manufacturer Again, Nick, if you could click on the top item, Georgian power sockets. Thank you. And this would then replace the generic content. And all of the information that's provided in that particular clause has been provided by the manufacturer and is unique to that manufacturer's product. Could you click on that item and add it into the clause, Nick, please?
Yeah.
Okay, so there what we see is that the information within the NBS Plus, or sorry, the NBS source clause includes the contact information for the particular manufacturer. Some of the items have been pre-populated. Other items, such as item 6 is arrangement. If you could click on there, Nick, and we can see that the manufacturer offers this particular socket in both a single gang and a double gang version. So the specifier would select that dependent upon the needs for their particular project.
When we look at values within clauses, we can see that they are represented in several different ways. How's that reflected in the guidance?
Generally, there are 3 types of value. There are default values, there are suggested values, and sometimes the suggested values have an NBS supplied value, or alternatively, it might be left with no entries whatsoever. Best way of showing that is if you could click on manual call points. So the first thing we're looking at is item 5, which is designation. If you could click on type A, we'll see that the guidance displays why type A is a default value. It appears without the specifier having to select that particular value. So the guidance there explains that BSEN 5411, which is a harmonized standard, offers type A and type B. However, within the UK, we have a code of practice, which is BS 5839 Part 1, in which clause 20.2 recommends the use of type A devices. If we then move on to item 3 of the clause, which is standard, we call this a suggested value, and in the clause I have offered 3 values, and the guidance associated with those 3 values explains which ones may be appropriate. So the first thing I've decided is that BSEN 5411 should always be selected, because that's the standard that covers manual call points, harmonized standard. Then, subject to whether or not it's a conventional system or an addressable system, you may wish to use short circuit isolators integral to the manual call point, in which case you would use BSEN 5417. If the system is wired, you would not include BSEN 5425. However, if it's a wireless system, that is the appropriate harmonized standard to cover that particular type of product. The third type of option is a suggested value where we don't provide any value at all. If you click on item 11, Nick, please, power source, you see there's no NBS values provided, and that's because these tend to be project specific. If you look against the power source in red text, we give a prompt there as to something that may be appropriate, but really it is for the specifier to select appropriate value and type in manually. Quite often this will occur where the keyword is colour, and there's so many different options that we couldn't possibly include them all.
Now, there are other forms of guidance within both NBS Chorus and NBS Source, which you can use to help you make decisions when writing your specification. We looked before at standard sockets, and we looked at a particular socket thought let's go back to standard socket outlets, and we looked at a particular socket for Hamilton light stat. If we go and look at that socket within NBS source, here we have the same socket here in NBS source. As we start to scroll down the page, we'll come past general information, and what you'll start to see is wherever there is text, for example here finish, wherever there's text that's in a grey colour, this is manufacturer guidance. So here it's saying finish, and underneath it's saying it is available in 2 finishes. And if we come further down, we can also see size. We've got some greyed out text here that says dependent on arrangement. And then we come down to the actual specification data below, and you'll start to see we've got double gang, single gang, and it's got in light grey underneath the sizes of those for the arrangement. If we come further down, we've got finish. We've got the 2 finishes there, antique brass, polished brass, and then in the grey text underneath, it's saying classic and sophisticated with a subtle aged appearance for antique brass, and popular, highly polished and versatile finish for polished brass. So you can see there's this extra guidance here that manufacturers are putting in to help you when specifying their products. And that same guidance appears within the product side panel in NBS Chorus. So we just quickly go back to NBS Chorus. Here we are. And if we go and click on the actual product, so if you click on the product, once it's been put into your spec, it will bring that information up in the product panel on the right hand side. If we click the clause, here again is the same manufacturer guidance appearing in a grey text underneath the options. And again, that is there to help you when specifying the product, to give you additional information from the manufacturer. We also have the ability for your organisation to put guidance into Chorus for you. Now, some of you might have seen the masterclass that my colleague Martin did on notes, and he covered org notes as part of that. For those of you who didn't, well, org notes can be used by your organisations to actually give guidance on writing specifications, on how your organisation works, or giving additional information that could be helpful to you for when you're writing specifications. Just very quickly to show you what that type of guidance can look like, I'm just going to click on NBS Chorus here. I've got a rider architecture project here, and I'm going to just go and select this north building. And I'm going to go into this north building. I've got a door set system here. For those of you who haven't seen it before, you'll see there's a number 1 here next to the door set systems with a yellow background. That tells you there's an organisation note there. And if you go and click on org notes, in this case there's a lesson learned. It's just saying issue on last project, door provide with wrong fire rating, ensure all school projects are rated 60 minutes. So your organisation can put guidance in there for you, which you can then use to assist you in writing specifications. I'm just going to go back to NBS Chorus and back to our guidance masterclass and back into that specification. And the last thing I just wanted to show you around guidance, potentially, that it's been there for a couple of weeks now, but some of you might not have spotted it yet because you might not have written any specifications, but it's a newish feature that was added recently. And I'll just give you an example here. If I select standard socket outlets, and some of you might have noticed this as Bill was talking around the guidance earlier, but you'll see at the very bottom of the guidance it now says for standard socket outlets used by 2. If you click on that, it will show you where this product clause can be used and what systems it can be used in. So you can now use that to help inform you. And if I click on low voltage small power systems, it brings up the guidance for me here. I can just very quickly select the text, go Shift C to copy it, go to my add content, go Shift V to paste that in, and search, and then bring that item into my specification. So that use by tool, very useful, helping you to see what systems you can use certain product clauses in. It will also work for performance clauses, execution clauses, for system facility management clauses, and completion clauses, telling you where those can also be used. I'd like to say thank you for your time today. If you want to catch up with any of our previous masterclasses, if you head over to the NBS.com, and if you select events, you'll see a list of our previous or any forthcoming events that might be coming along, or our previous events that we've already held. And you can go in and re-watch those events. For those of you who are interested in more details around the organisation notes, the bottom of the first page is my colleague Martin's masterclass on NBS Chorus and how to use notes. As I said, once again, thank you for your time today. Now, the next steps are if you want any information about training, then please visit the nbs.com /NBS-Academy, and we've got all our training information there on the website for you with all the different courses that we offer. If you're new to NBS and want to get information on Chorus, then please go to the nbs.com /NBS-Chorus, or email us at info@thenbs.com. And if you're an existing customer who wants more information on Chorus, then please contact your NBS account manager. Now, all the questions that you have put through to us today, we will respond to you all with the answers to those questions. And roughly about an hour after this event finishes, we will be sending out an email with a link to a copy of a recording of the webinar so that you can re-watch it or share it with your colleagues. Once again, thank you for your time today. Thank you very much to Bill for his time going through the guidance with us all. That's greatly appreciated. And please enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye, everybody.